Hello, everybody. It's Sky again, and I would like to speak today about what is going on in the world, where we are headed, and give a message to everyone, especially those who feel without hope or like everything is getting worse by the day. We're heading to the apocalypse and such things, and tell you what I have received concerning this topic. So, obviously, the whole world is in a great state of turmoil at the moment, and a lot of existences are falling apart. We're all confronting our own personal traumas in our lives or fears. There's this unknown ahead of us that we just don't know what the future will bring, and many times it's also about how are we going to sustain ourselves. And it just looks like everything has lost control. And that can and does bring a lot of people into this state of fear and despair. And I want to give a message of hope. So, first of all, I've been saying this for my entire life, and even before, you know, obviously long before all of this has started, that wherever we're going in the future on the earth, I know that it will be beautiful. And that's the knowledge I have come to this planet with. I am programmed for this, so to speak. I just am that. And it's nothing that anybody ever told me. Before I started saying that, I just knew it. And it was then later confirmed, you know, as I was getting into more research in the spiritual community. I found information that matched very much with what I was saying, and I realized it is not a reality that only I share, but that a lot of people bring out in the same way or in a similar way. And I know wherever this takes us, where we're at right now, is bringing us to somewhere beautiful. And then people think, oh my God, but how long does it take? And when are we finally through this? And okay, I'm going to say about, I speak about this a little later, but maybe, but for the time being, I just want to say that of course also I have had my moments in everything that's going on right now where I was really, you know, begging my star guides for support in this and telling me what the hell is going on, and where is this headed. And the message that I got was that there is no other way than to the light. There is no other way. The whole universe is headed to the next stage, and everything that we're seeing right now is just part of the cleansing process. And also this whole thing with particular measures being forced upon us, even that will not lead away from the light. It even triggers the light in a way that, and I'm speaking a little bit in codes here, or not using the words, because I know that some topics are easily censored. Yeah, so in a way that our genetic makeup right now is unlocked, and that goes in both a positive and a negative direction. So basically our abilities as humans are being reactivated, and then there's also forces that want to mess with it. And that in general creates a state of potential. So it is an opening. In both ways, it's an opening. But the only direction that it can take is to the light. So all the darkness that comes with it is just going to fall off on the long run. And that doesn't mean that every soul doesn't have their personal path to walk, and every soul has their personal choice to make as to where they're going and what they are accepting. And of course, in the entire reality, every soul creates their own reality for themselves. But nobody is a victim. Everybody decides their own path from a higher standpoint, which we might not be consciously aware of. And oftentimes when things happen to us, we think, oh, but I would never have chosen this. But that is just because we are in a denser dimension. So it really depends on our perspective. So what I mean to say is that if you move up high enough in the perspectives and the dimensions, you will see that everything is in harmony. But the lower down you go, the less you see that harmony, and the more you see that polarity of good and bad, light and dark, pain and joy. And you also experience this. So it's not to say that everything's fine and it doesn't matter, whatever you do is okay. Because it does matter, because in the plane that we are right now, of course, we feel the suffering if we are in it, and we're choosing it from a higher perspective. But every time we are in an experience like that, we always have the choice as to where we go. Do we despair? Or do we take it as a chance to evolve and to find a more profound peace within our hearts? And how does that happen? It basically happens with acceptance and the giving up of, how should I say this? Basically it's the giving up of resistance, but that does not mean that we don't say no. Definitely does not mean that. It means that usually what happens when we experience something that is unpleasant or horrible or harmful to us, the way that we perceive it, we usually have resistance, and we say, no, 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 it shouldn't happen, and things should be different than what they are. And this feelings of inner resistance create this pain, because we look at reality and we think, why is it like that? It should be different than what it is. And it's about surrender to what I call the divine, and trusting the divine to bring into my life whatever is needed in this particular moment for me to experience, and that is helping me evolve. And once we have surrendered, then we can answer, and we can say yes, and we can say no. But without these feelings of pain and desperation, just plain simple no, or yes, whatever. And walking the path in accordance. And that's a completely different saying no than the one that we say with anger and with such sadness. And then a lot of times people see what's happening to others, and they feel such pain for them. And the pain that we feel for them just increases the entire pain in the world, because we vibrationally add to it. So it is a different way of helping or standing up for others, in doing it from a feeling of peace inside. It is inspired by the totally different energy. And some people might say, well, but if I'm not angry and if I'm not sad, then I don't do anything. But you will find that that's not true, because if you are in a space of peace and connection, you will just be inspired by what it is that is your next step, that is for you to do, that is your mission here. And so there are a lot of people right now on this earth that are representing what you might call the dark forces. And there's a lot of anger towards them. But again, that anger, it might be a step on the path, and you need to feel it when you will first wake up to what is being done. But it's very important to eventually surpass it, because everything is from the light. Absolutely everything. And even the dark is originally from the light. There is no other source, ultimate source. And those who have chosen to go down the dark path have just moved very far away from the light, but they still are of the light. And by seeing that within everything, and also seeing that within them, helps to remind them of it. Because another thing that's very important to realize is that we are very powerful beings, and we have a role to play, a very important role to play in this whole transition process. It doesn't just happen. It is us who bring it about. But even if we don't bring it about, it will still happen. So that might sound like a paradox, but it is, where do you position yourself? And do you make your life easy for yourself, easier for yourself, or harder for yourself? And in both ways, also easier for others or harder for others. So if you see the light in everything, you remind that light, you remind these beings of the light that is ultimately within them. Of course, they always have a choice to go with that remembrance or no, but it helps to remind them of it. So we as human beings can transform. It's an alchemistic process that's basically going on. And it is our perspective that transforms and that matters. So it's basically when you see darkness and it triggers all these horrible feelings inside of you, the anger, the despair, the sadness, the pain, the desperation, all these feelings bring about exactly that. So first of all, it's very important to get to a space of neutrality and to know that no matter what there is in the world, it is all from the light and eventually brings out the light. And what I've been told is that this process happens no matter what. No matter what. It is a natural cycle right now. There is no other way. So, first of all, it's important to get to a space of neutrality and to see that there is both sides, light and dark, and these things are going on. And not to get into this emotional imbalance inside of ourselves, but just see it for what it is. And then seeing the light in everything and going with everything that is positive, thinking of everything that is positive, that is helpful, that is joyful, and about these bad things that are happening in the world, also knowing deep or seeing that everything that is dark brings the light about. And we know this from our personal lives that usually, when we get a further insight or get to more the next step in our lives, more peace, more wisdom, it usually comes through a crisis. A crisis is always a door that we can walk through and we can overcome it and go with the additional insight and help and involvement that it brings, or we can despair and be on the ground and say, oh, there's no hope. It's always our choice. It is really up to us. So by choosing to see the positive in everything, no matter what, which does not mean that we do not see the negative, it is definitely important to discern. But by seeing the positive side, we remind the carriers of these structures and of these expressions of their true nature. And of course, I don't want this to be misunderstood because there seems to be confusion about this in the spiritual community from what I see, because some people say, well, there are some people who say there's only the light, and they say, oh, but if you see dark, it's in yourself, and they are ignorant to the fact that there are so many such horrible things going on, and what is behind all these power structures. You have to see this, and you have to be aware of it. And there's people who say that you shouldn't even go there with your thoughts, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just that it is the kind of feeling that things provoke inside of us that we really have to take into account. Because as soon as we are taken down and brought down in our own vibration by something that we see, that means that the dark has taken over something inside of us. Do we want that, or don't we want that? So it's not about not seeing these things. It's definitely about being aware and being in discernment, and to open your eyes to what's going on. But at the same time, to know who we truly are and what everything truly is. And then walk our path inspired by the connection that we have to the divine. Meaning, what I call the divine. You can also say connection to the force of life, the force of love that brings about everything. And yeah, so as long as we're still stuck in all these feelings of pain and despair, we we are contributing to it. And it is always a mutual process. So the individual nourishes the collective, and the collective nourishes the individual. We are all interconnected, and everything that comes from the collective is something that the individual also feels, and vice versa. So the power that we have, though, is that we are connected. If we are connected to the force of love, which is the most powerful force in the world, that we can override and transform the darkness that comes from the collective. Yes, so let's summarize. Basically, I was told that there is no way that this path is not taking us to the light. It is something that is happening in the entire universe and in the entire earth, and we are part of it. And what they have also told me is that no one, absolutely no exception, will be left behind. and they have stressed that. A lot of people are now concerned about their relatives or friends, loved ones. And what I have been told is that everyone is going there. But it is everybody's choice, of course. First of all, how they are going there and how fast they are going there too. But in the end, the choice that every soul makes is part of their path of evolvement. And I don't really like to compare it to this, or maybe a couple of comparisons would make it more clear. So if you have a child in first class, you cannot send them to sixth class, you know. It's going to suffer. It's not ready there yet for that. And it doesn't mean that it is even less wise or less advanced in the end, because I don't want to make these comparisons and somebody being, I don't know, sort of higher on the scale or anything like that. It is just different. It is at a different stage. And you would never judge that, right? The same way that you wouldn't judge, for example, a lake to not have the strength of the waves that an ocean has, right? And that does not mean, you know, that either the ocean or the lake is worth less. It's an expression of nature in its own form. So yeah, again, it is very important to discern and to wake up and to open your eyes to what is happening. But also to know that the light is inside of us and inside of everything. And if you so choose, go with the light. It's your choice, of course. You know, it's everybody's choice. But it does help a lot to know that this process is happening. And as I said to you, you know, I have been in these dark moments too, where I was thinking, just even though I know this, and I knew it before, but still there were moments where I was just like, oh my God, you know, this is so horrible. And then I received that, and that is the message that I would like to leave with you today. And also, you know, this process of waking up to certain power structures and to certain things that are happening in the world, basically, yeah, what is happening in the world, waking up and opening your eyes and seeing is very important. It's a very important part of integration, because what we are doing is we're integrating the darkness in this process. And the place that this happens is within ourselves. So as we are working on the darkness within ourselves, and the darkness means every emotion that is bringing us pain or sorrow or fear or anger or anything that makes us feel awful, you know. And by working with these feelings and transforming them inside of ourselves, this is how we transform a part of the world as well. This is our role in this whole transitioning process. And it is about our thoughts and our feelings. Basically, it's about our feelings, because our feelings are a very good measurement of where we are currently at, which is always our choice. You know, we can make the choice. And whenever we have these awful feelings, we can choose to go with them, or we can choose to bring them to a higher state. And that always goes through the process of neutrality, which is, first of all, just accept it. Okay, if you feel like anger, just accept it. It's okay. It's fine. If you feel sorrow, accept it. It's fine. It's what I feel right now. And as soon as you accept that, truly accept it, and don't think, oh, how can this be? And I shouldn't be sad, and I shouldn't be angry about these things and these conditions. They're making me feel that way. And as soon as you accept whatever it is, you are able, or basically, first of all, what comes is a state of peace inside your hearts. And then open your heart to the force of life, and trust in it to bring it to bring you wherever you need to be. And it's funny because usually that already brings about a transformation in our own lives. I mean, I've had this happen multiple times. I was once in a time of my life where I was completely stuck and everything was stagnant. And I was just so desperate, so down, and I didn't even really have despair anymore. It was just like dead, you know. And I thought, I am so stuck. I just have no idea of what to do. And everywhere I go, I seem to bump my head against the wall in every area. And that was the point where I got to this awakening, not without help, I have to say. I have teachers that help me. But where I got to this point where I all of a sudden I said, well, okay, what else is there but this moment? Right now, is there a problem? I have my the coffee in my hand, or whatever drink, you know, tea, coffee, water. I feel my feet on the floor. I feel the air on my skin. And right now, there's nothing going on but that. So it's just this moment. And all these other things are happening in my head. What is going to be in the future? What happened in the past? You know, all these bad feelings about it, and the fear. And all of a sudden, it happened that I just totally relaxed in the moment, and everything fell off, and all my resistance fell off. And all of a sudden, I was like, okay, well, if it's like that, because you think, you know, all these things are happening in your life and you want them differently. You know, you don't want what is happening. You say, no, but I don't know, there's all these obstacles to what I want and where I think this should be going. And when I surrendered the resistance and just accepted what was, and I thought, okay, well, it's there for a reason, it's fine. All of a sudden, it was funny. It was just like everything opened up. And for some, yeah, it's just everything suddenly started to flow again, and all this state of being stagnant was transformed into a flow where everything happened that I really wanted to happen. And all these knots in my head, they dissolved. And yeah, I just went into the state of trust that everything's okay the way it is. Everything's fine. And whatever happens is fine. Yeah. So I hope that's all that I wanted to say. Yeah, and as to everyone going there and nobody being left behind, I just wanted to say that, okay, some people might need a little longer and might take a little different path, but all of that is for a reason also. And it's very important these days also to really respect everybody's choice. We shouldn't force any path or any choice upon anyone, because everybody's higher souls or higher selves know what they're doing. And what we do is our choice. And what if we decide to inform or to wake up or whatever we do, which is inspired from our own higher self or our own path, well, that's good. But when we do it, let's not do it from this this feeling of, oh, I need to change their minds and I need to change the world. I mean, what we do changes the world anyway. What everybody does changes the world in what they do. But if we try to bring it about with our own power and from a space of, oh, I'm doing this for others, I mean, what we are doing eventually comes from our own inspiration inside of us. And is just part of the path that we need to walk. And that doesn't liberate anybody from their responsibility that they have. Because if you feel that something it needs to be done by you, then it needs to be done by you. That's why you feel it. But not because the way that you do it needs to change someone or the world or whatever. It does that anyway. Just surrender to the process and walk your path. I think, and I hope, that's everything for today. Yeah, wishing you a beautiful day and hope to see you soon. Bye.